This is our introduction to using Fusion, and in this video we're going to be making a part that looks just like this one. So what we're going to do is first create a new project and save a new part, and then we're basically going to go through the steps of the tutorial to create a sketch, make a circle, make some 3D geometry, add some other features, uh, constrain the new circle, and then some more features from a pattern, some arcs, and then we'll finish up making the rest of this part. So you can see our goals here. We want to make sure we know how to make 2D sketches, geometry, how to use constraints and what those constraints are and what they can do, and then also talk about using some dimensions. So the first thing that you'll do is follow this link to create a sketch for beginners, and then you're going to follow the directions. If you see a square below one of the directions when you finish it, that means I want to see a screenshot to see how you're progressing through the tutorial before you move on to the next one. Now, the other thing that I'd like you to do when you're getting set up is to make sure that you put your the directions in on your extra monitor, so you can follow the directions on one screen, read the directions on another screen. So I'm not going to do that in this video because I can't make a movie of the two different screens. So I'm going to do it this way, but I think you'll have a much easier time if you have yours in a separate window. So I'm going to come down here to next page, create a sketch, and then I'll be able to follow the directions. But like I said, I want you to make a new project to hold on to all of the parts for these tutorials. So if your data panel is not showing, click on it to start it, and then click the back arrow to get back to where you can see your name. Click New Project, and I'd like you to call this Fusion Tutorials. And that's where we're going to create all of our parts. And then you can double click on that. You can see there are no parts yet. You can now, at this point, you can click the X to get that screen area back. But the first thing we want to do is come up and save. This one I want you to call D1 create a sketch, because that's the name of this tutorial. So first of all, the directions say select sketch, create a sketch, and then it wants us to pick one of the planes. Now the XY plane should be this one. If it's not for you, talk to me about correcting your preferences so that the XY plane is in this area. So here's create a sketch. I'm going to click on the XY plane and then continue to the next page. So first we're going to start a circle. Now circles, we really want to make sure that they're centered on the origin. That way it's a lot easier to control the geometry and make sure things don't go in the wrong places. So I'll come right up here to create a circle. It wants to know where the center of the circle is, so I'll click on the origin. And then we're just going to move away and click anywhere to make that circle. We've got our first circle. Step 4 is to dimension that circle, so we will add a dimension to it. Now on yours you probably will have more icons up here. If you can't see dimension, you can go inside here and come down to the very bottom sketch dimension, or you can see the D here. You could just hit the D button and you can click on it. I'm going to click right there. Here's our dimension. Put it anywhere you want. Type in the number 62 and that will make it 62 millimeters. Step 5 is to stop that sketch, and so finish the sketch, and then if it's not already, click on the home. That'll zoom it up and make it so that you can see it. At this point, you can take that first screenshot and then move on to create 3D geometry. Okay, in here we're going to extrude that. So One way to do that would be to say press pull. You can click press pull, click on the geometry, and then it'll allow you to say how wide you want this to be. You could drag it up until it says 8 millimeters, or you could just type in the number. Once it's on 8, you can hit OK. Then we're going to create another sketch on this surface. So we'll click sketch. This time we don't want to click on one of the origin planes. We want to click on the top of the cylinder that we have here. So right there. Notice that it squares everything up. We can drag that into the middle of the screen if it makes it a little bit easier. And now we're going to make the top part of the cup. And there's a couple different ways we can do this. If we know what we want the diameter of the circle to be, let's see, going on to the next step. It says the diameter should be 56, so we can click circle, we can click, and we could type in a 56. It'll go out to there, and we could hit enter. Or if you notice in the note here, we could also use sketch offset, and if we use offset, we could also say how thick we want it to be. So instead of making the circle this way, we could click offset right here, and we could click on the outside of the circle, and then we could drag this in or out, or we could type a number like 3. That goes the wrong direction, but we could also hit flip it onto the inside, and that's going to end up with the exact same circle. So it really doesn't matter which one of those two you choose. Depends on if you're more interested in the thickness or in what the inner diameter is. In this case, it'll come out the same. So I'm going to choose offset just because I did that one second. And then I'm going to extrude that outer ring. So I will finish my sketch. It goes back into the 3D. And then extrude is another option. So you can click extrude or push pull. They're pretty much have the same functionality. But you want to make sure you don't have just uh, the circle or just that circle. This is the part that we want to extrude. So we'll click on that, and then we're going to make it 22 millimeters. So this time I'm just going to type in 22. We can see what it looks like. You have a lot of options here. You can make a cut, an intersection, a new body, but what we want, it guessed right, we want it to join it together, make it into one solid piece. And click OK. So now we're done with the next step, chat, and then we'll move on to creating another sketch. Okay, in this next one, we're going to make some small circles. These are going to go in the bottom of the circle. So we'll click create a sketch. We're going to click on the bottom inside of our cup area. And this time we're just going to kind of put it in a random area, and then we're going to add some constraints and dimensions to get it to be exactly right. So I'm just going to put it in here. I am going to give it 4 for a diameter, but it's not exactly where I want it to be. We're going to use some constraints to get that to be in the right location. So first, this is the constraints area. If you click on it, there's a number of different things that you can use to control. So you can tell it if you want things to be exactly horizontal or vertical, or if you want them to be coincident, which means in the exact same place. Tangent, parallel, perpendicular, equal. These are all choices that we have. First of all, we want this circle to be directly above the center here. So I'm going to click the horizontal vertical, and it's going to choose either horizontal or vertical, whichever one it's closer to right now. So we'll click the center of this circle, the center of that circle, and notice that they are now directly above each other. And then we're going to dimension the distance from the center. So again, create sketch dimension or just click D. Click on the center here and the center here. Put that dimension down somewhere we can see it, and 24.5 millimeters, and it will move it to that correct location. So exactly 1 inch from the center of the circle. And now the circle, notice it turned black, which means that it is totally controlled and constrained in the correct location. So we can make a whole bunch more of those circles to go all the way around. We want 6 of them, or we can use a pattern to make 6 of them that will stay equally spaced no matter how we change things. So we're going to select that circle, hit escape because I'm already in another command. We'll select that circle, and then click create. Come down here to circular pattern. So that's the object. There's one selected. We could have also selected after we click circular pattern. The center point, we're going to make sure it's right here. We want it to go all the way around the circle, and we want there to be 6 of them. So notice when I type 6, it shows them 6 around. So we'll click OK. We'll finish that sketch, and now we can see we have these 6 sitting on the bottom. So we'll click to press pull. And this time we're going to select all 6 of those circles. Now if you can't get to one of them, you can rotate it so that you can click inside each of the 6 circles. And we want that to go up 6 millimeters. So click OK. And it's time to go on to the next step. So the next step is going to kind of smooth the area inside here, join it into these other pieces, and that's going to make these little cylinders a little bit stronger. So we're going to use the same plane as before, create a sketch on this plane. This time we're going to make an arc, and we're going to use the 3-point arc. So the way a 3-point arc works, you tell it where the start, where the end is, and then somewhere in the middle to help it figure out the curvature. So we'll click the center of this circle, we'll click the center of this circle, and I'm going to put it right here. And because we're going to add some more constraints to the next thing we'll do is click tangent. We'll click on this arc and that circle. That will make this so that it touches it in one place. That's what tangent means. Next, we're going to use the circular pattern again to make 6 of these so we don't have to draw 6 separate ones. So we'll do create circular pattern. We'll click there, click on the center point and the center of our circle, and just like last time, we want 6 of them. So there's our 6 circles, or 6 arcs. We'll stop that sketch. And then we're going to press pull those, the 6 profiles that we're going to have around the outside here to give it the rest of the shape. So press pull, and we're going to pick these 6 little shapes. 6 millimeters. And we'll click OK. These circles has some piece that's kind of holding it in place. We'll click all done, and we've finished it. Now before you take your final screenshot, I'd like you to go back to the home button, put it in this orientation so that we can see the front face from this direction, the right side, and then the top, and we're all done.